Wait a minute. You have how much snow?
I'm only kidding.
8 inches of snow.
No, I'm kidding you.
I know.
Beautiful day here.
You still go to Japan, right?
Oh, yeah. I go probably 4 times a year for various activities.
How do they treat you, Dick, when you go over to Japan? Is it like you're like a national hero over there, right?
I'm a celebrity, yes.
What's that feel like? I mean, think about it. You go to a foreign country that very little English is spoken. You come in and you're a hero in somebody else's country. It's kind of strange, huh?
Well, you know what? I went there in '63, and I have been going there up until 9/11. I went in and out of that country with my mask on through customs and immigration.
Really? So after 9/11, you couldn't wear the mask anymore, right?
Well, I did, and I still do, but the people who work in customs and immigration are younger, and they want to look at my face, so all I got to do is pull up my mask, and they see my passport and so on. And
oh, my God, that must be something to see. You're going through the airport with the mask, pulling the mask up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so,
I have had, since I went there, a celebrity status, similar to any athlete here, like, name one, Jeter, or from the...
Alex Rodriguez, Brett Favre.
Any of them.
So Dick, tell me, you go to Japan, do you get off the plane, they treat you different? Do you go to a special hotel? Do you have a plate? What goes on once you get off the plane?
I'm just a regular person.
Okay.
I'm just a regular person, but I have to stop and give autographs and take pictures, things like that, as I go through the airport. And then I get on a limo bus that takes me to downtown Tokyo, and I take my bag, I throw it into a taxi, and I go to a regular hotel.
Does the mask stay on the whole time?
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't ever in Japan, well, I do, that's a lie, but most of the time I wear the mask, and it for a reason, the same reason I wear it when I go to the Cauliflower Alley Club. I wear the mask, because somebody like Larry Henning or Harley Race, they'll say, "What the hell you got the mask on? Get it off, you're over with." I says, "No, I'm not. I'm still working."
Okay, so you're in Japan, you go out to eat, you go to the restaurant, everybody's got to be staring at you, A, because you're famous, and B, because you got this mask on, right?
Well, they know who I am.
Does everybody know who you are?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody that's, I go over in July, and I take 8 to 10 amateur wrestlers and their parents and or coaches for the All Japan Kids Tournament, which is ages 6 or 7 through 11. And I go to that tournament, and that tournament is run by the Japanese Olympic Committee for wrestling. And these guys who run it are all former Olympic wrestlers, amateur. So my background is amateur. I went to Syracuse, and I wrestled at Syracuse and did very well as an amateur. But now that I went through the pro ranks, I still take kids over for the All Japan Kids Tournament, which is held, one year it'll be held at the Olympic Stadium where they had the 64 Olympic for wrestling.
Yeah.
Then I also go over in August. Sometimes they run together, and I'll stay 2 extra weeks. And I go over for my office is in a area of Tokyo called Azabu Juban, and they have a Matsuri, which is a festival, every August, and it's a 3-day festival where I set up a stand, and we sell Destroyer product like a mask, a T-shirt, bobblehead, and we sell them, and the people come up, and if they want a picture taken, they have to pay to have the picture taken, and then we give all the money to a charity.
Oh, that's good. Very good.
Oh, So I call it a little bit of payback for what I've gotten in Japan.
Yeah. So you said you had an office in Japan?
Yeah, I have an office there.
What do you need? What do you need an office for? I'm curious.
Well, I have an office for my mail to go to.
Oh.
I have a bank statement, bank account. I don't have anybody working in the office, but I have a mail drop there, and I probably have 400 or 500 shirts, 300 or 400 masks, 300 or 400 bobbleheads in this office. And there is a friend of mine whose mailing address is that office, and he picks it up and he'll answer any mail. And he's a guy that grew up as a teenager watching The Destroyer, and he is a friend and a fan, you might say. So, and I'm going out to dinner tonight with a Japanese fella who his name is Toshio Uehara, and Toshio speaks very good English, and he is a fan. But he is a fan that he's president of a company only about 20 miles from where I live here in Buffalo. He's in Medina, New York. They have a company called Trek.
Okay.
And he comes over here 4 or 5 times a year for 2 weeks, takes care of his company, and goes back home.
So when you go out tonight, will you wear the mask?
It'll depend upon him, because there are times he will have a Japanese fellow with him. But the first time I met him, I want to say it was, in the 70s, so 30 years ago, his boss at the time brought him to my house here in Akron, and I met him with the mask on. And we're going out to dinner at Ilio DiPaolo's. Did you know Ilio DiPaolo?
Yeah, Johnny Powers told me all about his restaurant, yeah.
Yeah. I go there because it's a great restaurant, but Ilio DiPaolo, his son Dennis and Michael have the Ilio DiPaolo Scholarship Fund.
Okay.
And that fund we give about $10,000 to 10 different wrestlers who are going to go to college in the fall. And we'll have our first meeting coming up here in a month or so, because amateur wrestling is a winter sport in Western New York.
Yeah,
so
sure.
They start wrestling in November, December, January, February, March. They have the finals, and then we have our banquet, and we give these scholarships out. And there's about 300 people come to the banquet, and it's a fundraiser. So I keep involved with Dennis and Michael,
right?
Ilio's sons, and I'll go there tonight only because it's a hell of a restaurant.
Sure, good food, and no good food, you're not going to go. Dick, I've always wondered about you. I got to ask you this, because here you are in Buffalo, and then you go to Japan. Do you feel like you sacrificed your career in the United States a little bit, spending so much time in Japan? The later part of the career?
No, I never, not once did I ever regret going there, because I'm better off having gone there than I would have had staying here. I was from Buffalo and New York, and didn't get along all that well with New York City, primarily because you couldn't wrestle with a mask on in New York State until Neil Maskaras went to New York, and they manipulated ways where he was allowed to wrestle in New York State with a mask on. And this was after I had established myself in Japan as the Destroyer, and I was much better off there than I would have been here.
Do you think, could you have worked with Vince Sr.? Did they ever offer it to you? Because you really, growing up, I grew up on the East Coast, and I never saw you wrestle. So, I read about you in the magazines, and I didn't understand why you didn't come in with Vince. Was it just the mask reason?
Primarily, yes. I was recruited out of college, just like pro football players are recruited. I wrestled in an amateur match against Don Beitelman. Does that name ring a bell?
I think you mentioned him to me last week, but go ahead.
His name is Don Curtis.
Oh, Don Curtis. Okay, yeah. Don Curtis, I know. Okay.
Well, the same person.
Yeah, okay.
They just, Beitelman was hard to spell and hard to pronounce, and they just went as Don Curtis, and he teamed up with Mark Lewin, and they did well in New York City. I just didn't have the desire to work in New York, and like I said, I was recruited by Ed Don George. He sent me to Columbus, Ohio, where I learned the ropes of the trade. And then I came back to Buffalo, and I had a nice deal with Ed Don George. He was going to guarantee me $250 a week, and anything over that, we split. Well, then, while I was in Columbus, he sold the territory to Pedro Martinez, the Buffalo territory. So I came back, and I went up to the office, and Pedro told me, he says, I'm sorry, Dick, he says, I can't use you, you're too small.
What?
Yeah, he says, I can't use you, you're too small.
Wow.
So that gave me a reason to really stick it later on to Pedro Martinez in New York and whatever, because I went from there, I went to, this was 58, 59. I went to Hawaii and I became the destroyer, and, and things just snowballed as far as my career was concerned. And it got to the point I didn't need Pedro Martinez, so I never pushed myself, because I was making money on the West Coast, I was making money in Hawaii, I was making money
Dick.
so I didn't need the East Coast.
Dick, tell me a little bit about Pedro, because I've interviewed Johnny Powers quite a bit, and you probably know Johnny as well, and God only knows what went on there in Cleveland and Buffalo, New York with those guys behind the scenes. Can you give me any insight into Pedro?
When I came back I'll tell you a story that you're going to be hard to believe. It's in my book, and anyway, in 1959, 60, 61, I lived in Buffalo, and I worked as Dick Beyer for Pedro, and I was having some very good matches with Fritz von Erich in Cleveland, and Fritz went up to Pedro and says, hey, why don't you work an angle between Dick Beyer and I in Buffalo? So I sat down with Pedro, and he was going to work an angle with Fritz von Erich and I in Cleveland. He says, but Dick, he says, you have to promote the house. I says, what do you mean? He says, well, we're drawing $6,000. Do you think you can draw $6,000 there? I said, if anybody else can, Fritz von Erich and I can draw $6,000. He says, get me a certified check for $3,000, and I'll book you against Fritz von Erich in Cleveland in 3 weeks. So I had to go to a bank here. I mortgaged my house, which I had, and I took a mortgage of $3,000, and I got a certified check, and I went to Pedro, and I gave him the certified check. And we promoted the match. I had a couple wins on Cleveland television. Anyway, to make a long story short, I had to draw a $6,000 house. Fritz and I drew $15,000 house. He walked in the dressing room the night of the match, and he tore up the check and gave it to me. He says, you drew. And so then that was I was living in Buffalo, and
Dick, excuse me. Who tore up the check, Fritz or Pedro?
Pedro did, because they tore up the check because I didn't need it, so he was doing me a favor.
He was doing you a favor. Okay, go ahead.
He tore up the check, and then now we're talking over what we're going to do in the match. And Fritz von Erich told Pedro, I said, hey, we got to get his hand raised some way and come back with this thing next week. Well, Pedro wanted to beat me. And Fritz says, well, why the hell would you want to beat him if we're going to make some money? He's a baby face. We need a baby face. And anyway, I did get my hand raised. I don't know how way, but then, and this was in August, and then if you read my book or if you know about the history, in September, I went back and I coached football at Syracuse, September and October and November. But I also wrestled in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse on nights that I was available. And there was a time in that era where Fritz von Erich, Billy Red Lions, Ilio DiPaolo, and myself bought the promotion right to Rochester from Pedro. And I became the television announcer. I did the interviews of all the guys. Fritz was the heel, and Ilio and Billy Red Lions were baby faces. And we ran that town up from doing $3,000 to $15,000 houses. And we, as promoters, we split the money and paid off the wrestlers. And that went on for about a year. And then the TV station dropped wrestling as a studio show on a Saturday. And that killed the town. The town went down, down, down. So we sold it back to Pedro. So there's two things I had with Pedro. I had to buy myself, and I don't know of any other wrestler.
But Dick, hold on. That was a nice thing Pedro did, right?
Yeah.
That worked out good, right?
Yes.
Okay. I want to try and paint a picture of what Pedro was like, because a lot of people, well, everybody says good and bad things about everyone. But go ahead, excuse me.
Well, but I still don't remember any other wrestler that had to guarantee that they were going to draw a house.
Right.
So he did me a favor, because I proved to myself that I could work with somebody, being Fritz von Erich, and work an angle and draw money.
What's the time frame here? Are we in like the 50s or 60s?
No, this is in 59.
59, okay.
59 or 60, maybe it could have been closer to 61.
Okay.
Because I left Western New York in I went to Hawaii in 61, and I got there and I stayed there through 62, and Oliver the Destroyer. Two things happened in Hawaii. I wrestled against Maurice Vachon. First match, he was a heel and I was a babyface. And the last match I had over there, before I left to go to L.A. to become the Destroyer, I wrestled against Maurice Vachon. I was the heel and he was the baby. But the story is, Maurice Vachon went to Portland, Oregon, and became Mad Dog Vachon. And I went to L.A. and became the Destroyer, and both of our careers took off.
Yeah, because I've checked through the results from the 60s in Los Angeles, the Olympic, and you're scattered all over the place.
Right.
You were in all kinds of main events throughout the years there. What was it like in Los Angeles? Jeff Walton has told me point blank that you are like one of the top 2 or 3 wrestlers in the history of the United States. He's just like all about Dick Beyer and the original Destroyer. He saw you work in L.A. Did you like working out there?
I loved it. Yeah, it was good. Because, and I'll tell you why, you could talk, the 3 guys in the office were Hardy Kruskamp, Sander Zabel, and Jules Strongbow. And you could talk to them. And the wrestlers were Blassie and Mr. Moto, and Bruiser came through. The talent that came through was very good. And you could talk to the talent and work your programs from there.
Yeah. Dick, was the Olympic, Jeff Walton has said that the people were very close to the ring at the Olympic.
Oh, yeah, they were people who sat front row ringside could touch the ring. They could reach out with their hand, touch the ring.
Is that different for you working a match inside the ring to, have the fans just almost right in there with you?
No, I loved it because I could talk to the fans.
Wow.
I used to yell at them, talk at them. I said, if I had a face look like that, I'd put a mask on it. And and then I'd see some girl who was a guy. Hey, if I wouldn't sit next to that ugly guy, So and people used to tell me they'd buy ringside just to hear what I was talking about.
Really?
So that was.
When you worked Los Angeles back in the 60s, did they have a territory to speak of, or was it just you're working the Olympic and having the rest of the week off? I know that can't be the way it is, but.
No, we worked. Monday was where the Rose Bowl is, Pasadena, and we got $25. Then we worked Long Beach on Tuesday, and Long Beach was pretty good because that was promoted by Hardy Kruskamp. Then we worked the Olympic Auditorium on a Wednesday. Then we went to Bakersfield on Thursday, down to San Diego on Friday, and San Bernardino on Saturday. And we used to go from San Bernardino to Las Vegas for a Sunday afternoon TV show, stayed overnight, worked Vegas on that Monday, so we had 2 towns running on Monday. During the summer was San Bernardino, or not Pasadena, and so it was a territory. Yeah,
that's a real territory. That you're all over the place. Dick, did you ever? I'm going to go forward in time a little bit, but did it surprise you that the LA territory in the 70s declined so much? I know you're on some of the shows in the early 70s. Do you have a theory or a reason? I mean, you just described a very active and vibrant territory, and then in the 70s, as the 70s developed, it really went downhill. Do you have a theory?
Well, I'm wondering what happened to Jules. Jules died somewhere along there, and I know that Carl Lauer promoted L.A. during that time.
Excuse me, Dick. I think he was in the 80s because I've interviewed him twice. Yeah, the 70s.
Okay, then
the 70s.
I don't know why there was a lull there because I left L.A. in, I think, around 72. I went out there. Charlie Moto took a piece of the office, and he wanted me to come in as a booker. And I had already made a commitment to go to Japan with Giant Baba, and that was in 72 because I took my wife and 3 kids to Japan in June of 73, and we stayed. I went over for 1 year and stayed 6 to Japan.
Right, so you kind of missed out on the United States for a bit there. It's like a lag, right? You spent so much time in Japan.
Well, you know what? I went in there and I told Baba I had to make $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
And my expenses paid for my family. And he paid me $2,000 a week, and I paid my own expenses. So
I would have stayed.
You're talking $100,000.
Hey, Dick, I would have stayed too.
And most wrestlers envied this position I had. One wrestler that envied it was Stan Hansen, and Stan did the same thing I did. He made a connection with Baba, and he had a similar situation than I did. So, no, I don't ever regret because I got as many friends today in Japan as I got here in the United States.
Yeah, the only negative was we missed out on you as when we were growing up as kids watching you because you were in Japan. But let me ask you about some of the opponents you had in Japan and what it was like working with them. Did you work with Maskaras in Japan, Mil Maskaras?
Oh, yeah, we had some great matches.
What?
You know what? I can sit home here and watch a match that I had with Maskaras and get excited about it. I get goosebumps because the matches with Maskaras were a contest, and I knew it, and he knew it. In other words, I mean a contest in that a lot of wrestlers, they'll give you a hold. You know, if you do an arm drag, but Maskaras never gave you anything, and when I wrestled Maskaras, I never gave him anything. So we were actually doing a half shoot, maybe, and you can see it in the matches that I watched that I had with him. And the matches were always good, solid wrestling matches.
Dick, no one's really
back to that today.
Yeah,
solid wrestling. It would be much better for the business.
Dick, no one's critical of you, but a lot of people have been critical of working with Maskaras in the ring. I always thought he was great to watch, but very different.
Well, he didn't give you anything. That's why a lot of guys thought that he was stiff and he wouldn't do anything with them. But in mine, when I wrestled, I took it. He didn't give it to me. I took it. A lot of wrestlers that I wrestled, like Bastien and Billy Red Lions and Moto and everything, you might get together before the match and decide, well, we'll do this or this or this. You didn't do that with Maskaras because he didn't speak much English at the time. So it was a little bit more difficult to go in the ring and try to talk to him.
How was his physical conditioning?
Oh, it was fantastic. You had to be in shape to wrestle against him. And especially the way we worked. We worked where if he wanted a headlock, he had to get it. And I didn't give it to him. And it was the same thing with me going after him. When I shot an arm drag, I grabbed the arm and I pulled him. And of course he went, but he wouldn't have went if I didn't take it. So, and he had some great moves. And as we went along in our careers, especially when I was working in Japan and he would come over for a tour, we got to be closer. And then we went to, recently at one of the Cauliflower Alley clubs, I gave him an award.
Oh, wow.
And we went up on stage together, and I got a beautiful picture with him and I. And so we've learned to respect each other.
Have you seen him without the mask?
Oh, yes.
Would people be surprised with how he looks, or
well, he's just a good-looking guy, you know.
Is he friendly? I've heard a lot of people say he's like a prima donna. Did you ever see that in him, or did you get along pretty good?
He was never a prima donna to me.
Yeah.
You know, he might have been to somebody else, and I might be a prima donna to somebody, you know.
Yeah. How about?
But I wasn't to people like Art Copeman. Do you know Art?
Yeah.
Have you ever talked to Art?
No, I haven't talked with him. No.
You should talk to him. He's a little bit like Jeff Walton.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He found out who I was before anybody else. He was a teenager going to the matches in San Bernardino, and I pulled up to the arena one night, and he copied down my license plate number. He sent it to the New York State Motor Vehicle Bureau. They send him a letter back saying, this vehicle belongs to Richard Beyer. He lives at 86 Manhattan Avenue in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, that's funny.
And as I go in the arena one night in San Bernardino, he says to me, now here's a kid that's 17, 18 years old, and he says, Mr. Destroyer, can I show you something? So he shows me this letter. So we have been friends, and he calls me every Christmas and every birthday, because my birthday is on 7/11, July 11th, and they got convenience stores all over the country, 7-Eleven stores. So Art would be a good person to talk to. He'll give you similar information that Jeff Walton did.
Okay, fair enough. I'd love to get him. Always enjoy different points of view because everyone sees things so differently.
Well, he later went to work in the LA office, as a promoter or a reporter.
Well, you can put us in touch. We'd love to have him.
Yeah.
That would be great. Let me give you another name, Dick, and give me an opinion in a very different type of opponent from Maskaras, and that is Abdullah the Butcher. I've been told that you were one of the few people that could have a genuinely great match with Abdullah. What was that all about?
You're right, because he knew and I knew that we could make money together, and that's usually and a little bit like Maskaras. That I had some very good matches with Abdullah. Not wrestling matches, but slugfest matches. The matches I had with Maskaras were wrestling matches. The ones with Abdullah were wrestling, but it was kick and punch and gouge and that type of thing. Blood. Have you ever talked with Mike Tenay?
No, he works with TNA. I have not had the opportunity. I'd love to talk to him, but haven't had the opportunity.
He's another one that would give you information that I might not give you, but
what do you mean?
He and I are very, very close.
Wait, excuse me, Dick. What do you mean you might not? You might decide not to give me, or information that you don't have?
Oh, I have not. No, he might give you information about me that I would forget about.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No, he would, and the same thing with Art.
Do you know Mike well?
Pardon?
Do you know Mike Tenay well?
I know him real well.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you can hook us up again.
Yeah,
that'd be great. We'd love it.
Yeah,
yeah. We'd like to interview as many as possible. We have had over 150 in the last 6 months. All the legends.
Email me, and I'll give you his email back. How's that?
Oh, that'd be great.
And the same with Art. Doesn't have an email though. Art, I'll give you his phone number. Art Koopman.
Well, not right. How about Abdullah the Butcher? Do you have his email?
You know what? I don't know. I know where he is. Ab's in. I think he hangs out in Atlanta. He's got a restaurant down there.
Are you guys friends?
Pardon?
Are you friends with Abdullah?
Oh, sure.
Oh, wow.
Abdullah is. He's from Windsor, Ontario. And I've known him way back in the 60s. Maybe he started. You know what? You get into the business and you're in it a long time, and you had some knockdown drag-outs and made a few bucks together. You become friends.
Yeah, that's great. Abdullah the Butcher. How about the original Sheik? Did you wrestle him? You wrestled everybody, so that's kind of a silly way to ask the question.
I wrestled the original Sheik, but and I worked for him when he was promoting in Detroit. I worked a few matches. Actually, I worked Detroit more when Crybaby Cannon took over.
Oh, later on, yeah.
Yeah.
What was Ed like?
It was fun because Crybaby was funny. He was a good guy. Knew what he was doing.
Did he bring back?
He used to go up there with Billy Red Lions, because Billy and I assume you realize that he and I were brother-in-laws.
Yes, that I know.
So,
how was the territory when George Cannon took it over? There's not really that much historical information on that. Did he?
I didn't. I only worked Detroit, but then I did work for him up in Montreal, in Quebec, and up because he had a TV show up there too. I think he had it out of Toronto.
Yeah, I remember that. That was like 80, 81, 82-ish, right? 83?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he had a partner, a Jewish fellow, I think, that was his partner in Ontario.
Was it Milt? M-I-L-T, Milt?
Yes.
Milt Arushka?
Yes, that's him.
Yeah. See, I know a little bit too.
Well, I know. You gotta, if if you're talking to people around.
Yeah, I pulled that right out of the hat there. Dick, why did you finally retire? Were you physically starting to get run down a little bit from so many years, so many incredible matches, or just wanted to do something else?
I came back after my tours in Japan, and I got divorced from my first wife, and then I was single for 6 years, and during that particular time, I met a young lady that was a nurse at the high school that I was coaching wrestling, and her husband died of cancer, and then we started going together. We probably went together for 3 or 4 years before we got married. Now it's 84, and I made a deal with Baba that I would come over every summer for his Summer Action Series, which was in July and August, or late June, July, for X amount of dollars, and I took a full-time job as an elementary phys ed teacher. When I graduated from Syracuse, I got my master's degree, and I also got certified to teach in New York State. So there was a job opening in the elementary school here in Akron, New York, and I interviewed the job, and they hired me. So now I'm a full-time elementary phys ed teacher, and I did wrestle on the side once in a while, but I did go to Japan every summer through 93. And in 93, I was 63, and I saw the window to get out of the business at my age, and I just mailed this morning to the fellow who's writing my book. I sent him my last 3 matches, which were with my son as a tag partner in Ishikawa, Japan, which was Buffalo's sister city, in Yokohama, and that match was against Baba and Ricky Dozen's son, Mitsuo Momota, and that match, the one in Ishikawa was Buffalo's sister city, then Yokohama against Baba and Ricky Dozen's son had a correlation of my history in Japan.
Wow.
And then I worked, the last match I had was a sellout house at the Budokan in Tokyo. It was a 6-man team match, Baba and I and my son. And then many people came to the ring, presented me with different things, and the girl who I was on a TV show, Wada Akiko, she sang a song that was very apropos to me leaving the ring.
Wow.
It was so, I just this morning mailed that to, and that particular, I got to find out if we can sell that, put it together, and put it maybe in with the book, because it would be, you would have the last 3 matches.
That's the way to do it. Package it with the book.
But I'm just wondering about the legality of it.
Oh. Yeah.
Do I got to get permission from people who took it, so forth?
Yeah, I don't know. That's tricky there for sure.
So anyway, that's the way I actually retired, and I was very happy with it. I was 63, and if you watch the match that I had with those last 3 matches, I looked like 45 or 50 because I kept myself in shape and I didn't have any aches or pains at the time. Yeah, but it was time to. That's what
I wanted to ask you about, Dick, as a final question. Then we'll close. What is it like you were in the ring a long time? You had all these tremendous battles. You don't have the aches and pains that bad when you retire, but obviously they've got to develop. What's it like post wrestling?
Well. I've had my right shoulder replaced. I hurt that in a football game at Syracuse in 1950.
Oh, my God.
I wrestled.
Did you wear helmets back then?
They were leather.
Okay.
And no face mask. And then I hurt my shoulder, and it healed, but calcium deposit grew as I went. It got to the point where after 8,500 wrestling matches, I needed to have a shoulder replaced. Then I had my left hip replaced. Then I had my left knee replaced. And just recently, on 9/9/09, I had my right hip replaced. So,
what's that feel like after the hips are? That must be in severe pain right before you wouldn't have the surgery. Is it total
relief? Not severe pain. It just bothered you.
Bothered you, okay.
And actually the hips were much easier than the knee.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. The knee is the worst because got to support the whole weight of the body.
Oh, the only one I got to do is my right knee left.
Wow.
And maybe my weenie.
Okay, Dick. There we go. Hey, it's the Destroyer, the sensational, intelligent, original Destroyer. It has been a pleasure. What's your website address for anyone who'd like to go up and check it out?
Well, I think you ought to get it because it's www.thedestroyer.com. And you can see me wrestle a bear. I was so tough in the ring, I got disqualified wrestling the bear.
The only man in history to be disqualified wrestling the bear.
Yep.
Okay, Dick, I'm going to call you again sometime. What's a good time?
Well,
I know you're busy, and I don't want to impose.
Usually, I'm in the house by 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So 11 o'clock at night would be because I watch the news. Maybe I'll watch Johnny Carson if he's got a Letterman or somebody.
So it's okay to call you at night?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take you up on that sometime next week.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right.
The Destroyer.
Okay, Gary.
Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Remember, Destroyer Ichiban!
Ichiban.